Hello, good afternoon. So today I'm gonna show an integration with Backlight and Figma Tokens plugin. I'm gonna start with this design system in Figma. It's a very simple one. It just has primary and gray colors, and it has a button component with a couple of states. And we're gonna go ahead and make this, set this up in Backlight, and we're gonna connect it to Figma Tokens plugin. So if you go to here your Figma menu, and then you go to plugins. You can go to browse plugins in community. You can search for Figma tokens, and then here in plugins tab you can find Figma tokens plugin. You can install it. I already installed it. It's a plugin that helps you use design tokens inside of Figma and manage the tokens and have references between tokens. And yeah, there's a lot more support for different tokens in this plugin than Figma has natively at the time of recording this. So if I open up this plugin right here, it'll start up, and we can see that we have some tokens already. So I already set up, I basically have two token sets. I have a core token set with my core colors. You can see here the emerald color range and the gray color range. Click on this, edit the token if I want, change the name, but I'm good with the name. So, and then in my button, I have, I'm basically using all my core colors for my button colors. So I have a button component, and I'm componentizing, I'm tokenizing the button component. So everything in the button is basically tokenized, at least for the colors. I'm just using colors in this example, but you can do the same for spacing and border radius and all these other aspects of the button. But for now I only do the colors. So we can see here, for example, we have a button primary, which has a background color and a text color, and they're using the, if I right click this and I can see edit token, you can see that this button primary color is using the primary 500 for my core colors. So if I ever change the color range, my button color should update as well. We have some hover color, active border color. It's an active shadow color actually. A focus outline color, disabled color, and then we also have an outline button variant with some other colors. I didn't add them here in the design, but yeah. So now that we have this, we're gonna set up our, we're gonna create our backlight project. So you can go to our browser. You can go here. We can say backlight.dev, and let's create a completely new project. So we actually do have a starter kit. So if you want to like get started easy, there's a starter Figma tokens starter kit that's still work in progress a little bit as I'm making these videos for this. But you could duplicate the starter Figma tokens to get a nice starter kit with some nice documentation out of the box and color range and the button component that we're gonna make. But let's just set it up from scratch so you guys understand how the integration works and how to do it from scratch. So we can go here, make a new design system, just go with a blank project, and we'll start by renaming this. Let's name it giraffe. I don't really have a good inspiration for a good name, so let's call it a giraffe design system because I like giraffes. We'll make it public. We'll put the owner on my own user for now. Yeah, we don't have a Git thing yet. That's fine. We'll connect it to Git in a second. Okay, so now we have on our user Joren, which is me. We have a design system giraffe, master branch. Get a nice little index. So what we'll start with right now is just it's actually connected to Git. So let's create a repository here. We'll use GitHub. We'll go to, that's loading. There we go. I'm good with the owner and the name, so we'll just do create repository and push. And to make it have better integration, it's good to install the Github App on this repository as well. So we can click here. What we can do here is we can add the giraffe repository here and save it. So now we have the backlight app that has authorization to on this repository. And then you can see here we have a main branch now, which is locked because this is the default branch of the repository, so you cannot push to it directly. So if you want to like initialize this repository now, we have it fully connected to Git. We have the Github app working, so now we can make a new branch. So we'll just call this init because it's just initializing the repository. So now we're all connected to Git. So let's actually start by making a StyleDictionary config. Let's start with that. So we'll just go and create here sd.config.common.js. So CJS extension means common.js. That makes it easy to eject if you ever need to run StyleDictionary outside of backlight context. It's easy to use this extension because StyleDictionary is a common.js dependency. And I'll just grab StyleDictionary config from the starter kit. And I'll explain briefly what it does. So we see here we have an export of an object. This is the config object of StyleDictionary. And the source here is an array of globs, and you can put in an array of globs. So we have we expect that we have a SD input package and that there will be some JSON files in there, and we will use those to import the design tokens. Then we have one platform called CSS. So we're exporting to CSS variables basically. So CSS custom properties, they're also known as. And we have a little file header called auto-generated file header. And that means that on the top of this file, of this CSS file, variables.css, we'll have a comment that says, do not edit this file directly, it was auto-generated, just so that people don't accidentally edit the file. You could use the standard file header that StyleDictionary gives you, but that one has a date in it, and that one can cause a lot of merge conflicts. So if two branches are both using StyleDictionary, but they don't actually update the token, but they do update the date in the comment, you might get some merge conflicts that are a bit tedious to solve because all they're doing is changing the date. So I prefer to have my own file header without the auto-generated date in there, because that one changes all the time and this one doesn't. So, we'll just save this. Doesn't do much at the moment because we don't actually have a package SD input. We don't actually have design tokens connected to this repository yet. So that's probably the next thing we should do. So next thing we should do is we go to our account. We go to our repositories. Let's see, repositories, giraffe design system. And this is our repository, as we can see. So what we can do now is we can go to our Figma Tokens plugin. And what we can do now is to make sure that these design tokens, that they get synchronized to this Github repository. So we can go to settings, and we can see I already have some credentials, but basically what you do is you go to, you click on Github. Just ignore the fact that I have some credentials already. They're not really relevant. So what we can do now is add new credentials. We can say giraffe, we call it giraffe. I need to grab my grab a personal access token. So if you need a personal access token, you can always go to your developer settings. So you go to your GitHub profile, you go to your settings, to your developer settings, and then to your personal access tokens. You can create a token here. All you need is repo access. So you can do here, generate a new token. You just click this. You can put no expiration if you want. It's not the most secure, but it's the least maintenance basically. You can create a title for your access token. Make sure you save this access. So as soon as you create the access token, make sure you save the token somewhere safe, because you won't be able to see it again here. So and we're gonna reuse it for 2 steps. So we're gonna reuse it here. So I already have an access token, so I'm just gonna copy it from my secure notes. And I'm gonna go to my Figma tokens, and I'm gonna put my personal access token here. My repository is my name / repo. The default branch, I'm gonna make this Figma tokens. So I'm gonna make it push to this default branch. Because I actually want my tokens for this integration, basically for this workflow, I want it to actually push to its own branch. And then we create a pull request to the main so that we can actually see a review. We can actually see a visual difference we can review it. We don't really want to push to the release branch directly. We'd rather do it through a pull request. So our whole workflow is actually based on that this will create a pull request. This default branch, Figma Tokens branch, it doesn't exist currently. So what we can do real quick is, and I know that in a future update of the Figma Tokens plugin, it will be able to create the branch for you. But in this current version, you cannot, version 1.101, you cannot really put a branch here that doesn't exist. Otherwise, it cannot push to it. So what we need to do is we'll just go quickly into our Visual Studio Code editor. We'll go into a terminal and just clone the repository real quick. So we go to the browser again. Go to the repository. We'll clone this. So now we have our repository here, and what we'll do real quick is we'll just do git checkout the Figma tokens. We'll just create the branch and we'll just push it. So now the branch actually exists. That will help us. So now we can continue. So this branch now exists. So the file path we want to do is, we actually want to use something that, so it's clear to us which JSON it will pick up. So what we'll do is we'll just make this, we'll call this our SD input package. And we'll just say in the source directory, and we'll put it as Figma tokens output.json. So it's clear that this is the output from the Figma tokens plugin. We'll go ahead and save this. And then it's asking like, hey, do you want to push your local changes? And yeah, we'll just do that real quick. So we'll just go, push tokens. There we go. We push it. And we'll just create a pull request real quick. And what we'll see in this pull request is we'll see that we have now SD input /source /Figma tokens output.json. So that's pretty neat. You can see that we have all the tokens here. We'll just create a pull request. So yeah, we're basically happy with this. I'll delete the branch. Actually, we maybe shouldn't have deleted the branch, but we have to gonna recreate it and push it again. Let's see, with the other tab open, yeah. So now we push some tokens. We can go to our repository, we can go to our main branch, and we'll see that we have the tokens now. So we have an SD input over here. We can see that we have the tokens in here. We also know that we have like this init branch. So let's go to the init branch, and we have a style dictionary config here. Let's actually make this a little bit more specific. Let's make this source /Figma SD input.json. So what needs to happen now is we have our tokens now. So we got our SD input, Figma tokens output. And this Figma tokens output needs to be transformed to style dictionary input. So this JSON is not currently directly compatible with style dictionary. So one of the reasons is because we have a reference here called core.colors.primary.500. And actually we have here core and then again core, because this is the core token set. So at the current version of of Figma Tokens plugin, it puts your token sets inside of an upper property in the JSON. And there's a token transformer that we can use that actually gets rid of that, and that makes the references work again. And that means this can be used as a style dictionary input. So right now, this Figma tokens output is not really style dictionary compatible yet. We need to run it through a transformer. So what we can do is like automate this process. So what we want to do is, as soon as the Figma tokens plugin pushes to a branch, we actually wanted to create a pull request automatically. We wanted to, in this pull request, we wanted to run a token transformer on it. And then after it's run the token transformer, we have a style dictionary input. And that style dictionary input needs to be ran by style dictionary. so that we get our CSS custom properties. And this whole process, we can automate it with GitHub Actions. So I'll go into that part next. So what I'll do is, we're in this VS Code branch. We'll just go to the main branch now, because this has my tokens in it. I'll do a pull. And I'll just make a new branch called GitHub Workflows. And what we'll do now is we'll make a folder called .github. We'll put a folder inside of it called Workflows, and we'll make some files in here. So we'll just put some, yeah, let's call it Figma Tokens. Figma Tokens push. So it's a workflow that triggers when there's a push to the Figma Tokens branch. So I have it actually copied here, so that helps. Oh, name should be name. So we have a workflow, and the name is create a Figma Tokens pull request. This you need to make sure it matches your Figma Token sync credentials. So we have our Figma Tokens. This is the branch. So if there's a push on this branch, we'll execute this workflow. And it only has one job, it's to create a pull request. So here's a out-of-the-box action that you can use to create a pull request. We'll say what the destination branch is, just, main in our case, and we'll give it a PR title. You can, of course, you can change this, and you can put a pull request body in it if you want. And then this is a very important part. So you put your GitHub token in here, and usually you would go with something like GitHub token or whatever, because this one is already out of the box in GitHub Actions. But we actually don't want to use the workflows token. We want to use a personal access token, and this is because that the creation of this pull request that we're doing in this workflow, it needs to trigger another workflow. So we're gonna have two workflows. And the thing with the default GitHub token is it won't trigger other workflows, because it's like a protection mechanism to make sure that workflows are not triggering other workflows in infinite loops and stuff. But in this specific case, we actually want it to trigger another workflow. So then you can use a GitHub personal access token. We already made that one, so we can go to our settings here. Our GitHub settings, our secrets, actions. We can create a new secret, new repository secret, and we call it GitHub PAT, and we'll put our access token in there. We already created this access token in the previous step. So now we have our access token. So this workflow will then work. So this is the first workflow you want to create. So whenever GitHub or whenever the Figma Tokens plugin pushes to your Figma Tokens branch, you want to create a pull request automatically. And because you're using your personal access token, this workflow will trigger the next workflow, which we'll make right now. And we call it Figma Tokens PR. So it's a trigger on the pull request. And I have this copied here as well. So it's a workflow that will process the Figma tokens from the pull request. So it responds on a pull request, and very important, like we want it only to run this job if the branch is equal to Figma tokens. So it's a pull request, and so not the destination branch, but not the target branch, but the source branch. So and you use the github.headref for this. This is the source branch name. So if the pull request is originating from the Figma tokens, or the source branch is the Figma tokens branch, then we're going to run this job. And the job is called process the Figma tokens. So as I said, like we have some tokens from the Figma Tokens plugin, and we want to, like that JSON is not yet compatible with style dictionary. So we want to run a token transformer on it. So what we do is we check out the head of the PR. So the pull request that we have, we will check out that branch. So we go for github.events.pullRequest.head.repo.fullname. That's the name of the repository. And then the ref. And this is the really important part, so that you check out the code of the pull request that was created in the trigger event here. So and that's the github.event.pullRequest. That's the trigger event. And then the head ref of that pull request. So it's the most recent commit of that pull request. And that's the code that you want to check out, because that one has the Figma tokens JSON. Then you install the dependencies. So this repository has some dependencies. There's a token transformer and a style dictionary. Well, we should probably add those dependencies. So what we can do here is we can do install these. So we can do token transformer. And style dictionary. So then these dependencies will be installed by this step. And then it will run the token transformer. So it will run this. You can put this in an npm script as well if you want, and then you don't need the npx. But yeah, for now I just do it like this. And we say run the token transformer, run it on the sd input /source /figma tokens output.json. We should have that JSON already. That's this JSON over here. And the output file should be the SD input file. So that might be a little confusing, but the token transformer has an input, which is the Figma tokens output. And the output of the token transformer is the style dictionary input. And what we do here, we do resolve references false because the references will be resolved by style dictionary. So we don't really need to do that in the token transformer. So after this has run, we will have another file here called sdinput.json, and that's the JSON files that style dictionary will run over. What we can see now, we actually see that we have it tries to run npx style dictionary build and then use the config sd.config.common.js. We didn't push that yet, so what we can do is we can go here. We have this init branch. Well, let's push it to let's say initialize style dictionary config. Create a pull request for that real quick. So we'll merge that. Now we can rebase our branch to the main. So we can do git checkout. What we'll do first is git commit. Add GitHub workflows. Now we can check out main. We can pull the latest main. We can check out again our what's it called? GitHub workflows. Git rebase to main. So now we're up to date. So now we have our config over here that we created. So now we're good. So that means this style dictionary should run properly, and then we should get an output. So we should get our variables.css, and that will be in a tokens folder. So what we'll just go ahead and do here, we'll just make this. What we can add here is we can add here tokens, because there will be a tokens folder after this. So there will be a folder called tokens, and we can in the studio, in the backlight, we can categorize that as a tokens folder. And we have some infrastructure, which is our SD input file or folder, I mean. Okay, so that should be good. So what we can do now is we can amend the previous commit, and we'll just push it to GitHub workflows. What we can actually do is, before we do this, let's because right now we only have our Figma tokens output.json. So if we want to check if the workflows work, we can just do a little step, do npm install, and see if this actually works. And then we'll just run this. And then we see it says done transformer. So now we can see we actually have our core colors, primary, blah, blah, blah. And you can see now that our references will work, because there's no more an extra upper core property. It's just one core property now, compared to here where it was core and then again core, because it wraps the token set from the Figma Tokens plugin inside of an extra property. So that's essentially what one of the things that the token transformer has done for us. So now this we can read it with style dictionary. So let's try that. So we can run this and see if it works. Then we can see, it created the file. So we can see here we have a tokens and we have a variables.css. So we can see that our core tokens work and that we have our button tokens, at least all the colors that we need. So this looks good. We can see our file header is also working over here. So that's all looking great. So what we can do now is we can go and add this to the previous commit. And we'll just push this. Check if files change. We have 2 workflows. We have a package log JSON, that's fine. We have some dev dependencies now. And we have some tokens, style dictionary input. We changed our studio config a little bit to reflect the folders. And we have a variables.css. So this looks good. So we'll merge this. I'm just gonna ignore this. Sometimes it just kind of, you can see here that we created a PR and it skips this workflow because it's not Figma tokens. So this one is the GitHub workflows branch. So this, if the source branch would be Figma tokens, it would run this GitHub action, but now it doesn't. So that's correct actually. Let's confirm this. And we can delete this branch. So what we also should remember is we accidentally deleted the Figma tokens branch last time. So let's create that branch again. Wait. Let's delete the local branch because we still have the branch locally, but we shouldn't. It's removed on the remote, so let's remove it on the... And now we can create this branch from scratch. So we do a -b over here. So now we have a new branch Figma tokens based on the most up-to-date main branch. And we'll push that to the remote now. Okay, so now we have our Figma tokens branch again. We don't need a pull request or anything. We can just check it out. We can go over here. We can see there's a Figma tokens branch and it still has this Figma tokens output. So what we can do now, we can go to our plugin and we can actually say we can pull if we want from GitHub. It won't do much because it's still the same tokens, but you can always, if you want to update your tokens to the remote, to the GitHub tokens, then you can always pull it. If you change any tokens here and you want to persist those, then you can push it to GitHub. So so let's just double check if everything is set up properly. So we'll just go to our Backlight Studio again, graph. So we can see we have our tokens over here now. Yeah, so this is all looking good. Yeah, so maybe it's a good idea to make a button component actually. So let's just go and create a button component over here. So we'll just go button comp. And we can go to components, click on the plus button, create a button component, and we'll just create a file here, and we'll just say button.css. We'll just make a CSS button component. So what we want to try and do first is look actually at our tokens. So we'll just go to our tokens, go to our CSS variables, and what I just quickly do is I'll just grab this and copy it here into the comments. So I can actually see if these tokens are good, and then I can start making my button component. So I could make a button class, and I can say background color, and then I can use the CSS variable. So I can do Figma button primary background, and then I can start creating my button component from these tokens. It's mostly these tokens. I don't really need these. These are the core tokens. So yeah, I actually have this button created already. I'm not going to show you the entire process of making a CSS button. I'm just going to copy paste. So here's basically our button component, and you can see it uses all these, it uses all the tokens over here. So every token is used at one point or another. So what we can do now is we can actually try to show that button component. So what we can do is we can make a docs, and we can say index.md, and we can say button component. do a button like this, and we can see if it works. Yeah, it works. What you can do in Markdown files, I use something called Markdown Javascript, and you can create code blocks like this. So this is a button component. And you can say here JS, and you can say your script. And if you put script over here, it won't just be a generic JS code block like you usually do in Markdown. It will actually get executed. So whatever JavaScript you put in here, it actually get executed. So we can import our tokens. Let's start with that. So we'll just go like this, and we'll go tokens slash variables.css it's called. So this will load all our CSS variables. We don't just need our CSS variables, we also need our CSS button. So we'll just go like this, button. We're already in the button package, so we can just do /source / button.css. So now we have the style sheets loaded. We have all the CSS variables, and we have our button class basically. And now we can actually make a button demo. So we can do here, preview story. So this is actually a code block that then you can create into a story. So we'll just go export const main equals, and then we can just make a button component in here. And all it needs now is that button class that we created. So now we see that we have our green button. You can see that the focus even works as well. You don't see the focus because the focus style is white, because it's meant for a dark theme. We have, and this docs page is a light theme. So, but yeah, that's something we could fix in the future. You can see the active color works, the hover color works. So it's basically good to go. We can see the code snippet over here. So this still looks pretty ugly, this page. We have some utilities in Backlight that you can use to give some default styling to your docs page to make it look nice. But this is just how it looks out of the box. I won't spend too much time diving into that for this video. Yeah, so we have our button component. We see that it works. We can even inspect elements. And we can see that if we go on this button and we open up the CSS tab, we can see that it loaded all the CSS variables over here. And we can see that the button class is working. So that's as a result of those two imports. So our button component basically works. So we'll just push this real quick, and then I'll show the full workflow with Figma. So if you change something in Figma, it will change this button component automatically without needing to do anything. So I'm just going to push this for now. It's good enough. First button version. Just look at the files changed. So we have some docs. We have a button component. Actually, let me remove the comments here. And yeah, Studio is updated, but that's nothing important. And our CSS variables were reformatted. It's not really a big deal either. So now what we'll do is, yeah, over here, remove comments. So we see the comments are gone now. So now I'm happy about it. So let's push this. So now we have a button component. Let's see if we can change the button just by changing Figma. So we'll go into the Figma. And maybe we can change the hover color to be a little bit more, maybe we want the hover color to be dark actually. So what we can do here is we can go to our button. And we can say this hover color. It's not going to be 400, but it's going to be, let's say 700. Let's update that. And we can see that the hover state changes. Maybe that's a bit too much. So let's maybe make it 600. That's better. So now if we hover it, it will become a little bit darker. Maybe that's better because we have white text. So for contrast, might be a better solution to do it that way. So we changed our tokens right here. We changed this one. And now we can see we have a blue dot, which means like, hey, you changed something about your tokens that's not on GitHub. You want to push it. So yeah, we actually do want to push it. So we click here, we create a commit message, and we push it to the Figma tokens branch. So we go, let's say fix hover correct hover color button. And we'll push this. So we don't need to create a pull request. It's being done automatically, so we don't need to press this actually. We can just leave that. All we have to do now is go to our GitHub. We can see in our GitHub actions that this is running. So you can see that the Figma tokens push workflow is running, and it's creating a pull request now with GitHub actions. So this should run pretty quickly. Yeah, so you can see that this has succeeded. So now if we click on pull request, we should see a new pull request. Yeah, there it is, Figma tokens update. It's being created by my user because it's my personal access token. You can see here, this is the PR body that we configured. You can see that there's another action that's running now. So there's a second workflow running. That happens really quick actually. So yeah, you can see here it installed the dependencies pretty quickly. It runs the token transformer correctly, and then it runs style dictionary over it. You can see here it creates the CSS variables, and it commits those changes to the pull request. So that was very fast actually. The diff would first only show this. So it would only show this one as being changed. And then after the second commit, so the second commit, you can actually see that, oh, I didn't change it's still example. You should change it to your own, settings. So if I go to here, just GitHub workflow, I can see here that I didn't change this author email and this author name. I should have made this my own name and everything, but yeah, we can change that later. It's fine for now. Wait. Revert this. Okay. So it's fine for now. But yeah, you should change it to your own GitHub email and name. And then you can see that this was the first thing it had, and after the second commit, it also created this input JSON. So you can see that in the input, the style dictionary input JSON, the value also changed properly. And then you can see as a result, it also changed in the tokens variables.css. And because we're using these CSS variables inside of our button class, our button will be updated. So, and we can actually see that directly. So we have a little review link over here. So if we go to our pull request, we can see that Backlight created a review link. So let's open that up. And just have to click the button here. And now you can see actually that in the code, nothing changed in the button, but it did in the token. So you can see that the tokens here changed. So you can see here that the Figma button primary hover background changed from a kind of a light green to a dark green. And you can see the live component as well. If you click on the button now, you can see here that the hover is still, this is the old one, and this is the new one. So you can see a visual difference between the button automatically. So all we had to do is change a token inside of Figma. Then automatically creates a pull request in GitHub. It runs style dictionary and the token transformer. This updates your coded component, and then you get a visual difference between your between the old and the new of your coded component. So you can automatically see if the change that you made in the design is also the change that you see in the code. So this is this is basically the Figma tokens integration with Backlight that I created using GitHub Actions. So this is basically the integration that I built with Backlight and Figma Tokens plugin. And what this allows you is to have a fully connected workflow between design and code. So hopefully this was useful to anyone. And again, if you want to set this up from scratch, this video can help you really understand how it works and how to do that. But if you want to have like a starter kit, like have a start off from already a template, there is of course the starter kit. So you can go to starter Figma tokens, and you can duplicate this kit. And this one already has, as you can see, much nicer documentation. So you can see it as a dark mode. That's the same button component. It also has some documentation for your color. So it's a bit nicer to use this starter kit if you want to have something out of the box, but you'll still need to connect it, of course, to GitHub, and you'll need to connect it to your Figma Tokens plugin. But this starter kit will give you some more stuff out of the box, which helps. All right, hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, feel free to also hop into our Discord, and you can also always tag me personally if you want to spar or talk about design tokens and how to use them in design systems and in Figma and in Backlight. All right, see ya.